We have been graced with the presence of our mayor. I'm very proud of the job that she's been doing so far, and I hope it continues. She will be taking a few questions afterwards, after she talks. So, ladies and gentlemen, our mayor.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and happy holidays to you. I think this tree definitely wins as the best tree I've seen so far this season. And I am delighted to be with the Federation this afternoon. I'm pretty sure I was sitting right there last year at this time. The podium was a little moved over, but I got a chance to start the holiday season off with you then, and I'm glad to be back. Everybody knows how much I love grassroots organizations and have been an active participant in my own Citizens Association and the Citizens Association I grew up with, North Michigan Park, then Lamont Briggs, soon to be the Shepherd Park Citizens Association. And I just find that all the things that the neighbors can do together enhance everything that the government does. And it's so important that we pay attention and we listen. So we started out our administration with the notion that we would be open, transparent, and we would ask for information before we made big decisions. We started that philosophy off with the most important thing document that a mayor creates, and that's the budget, and advancing budget forums before the budget was completely formulated, and we found that was very helpful to us. So people have been asking me this month especially, so what's it been like? Do you like it? And tell us about being mayor. There's no more fun job than to be mayor of your hometown. So unless you're from DC, I highly recommend it, because then you would be running against me. Everybody from DC, you can just help your mayor. But it is just a tremendous honor, and it is also a tremendous responsibility. Managing a city and leading a city is about the hardest thing that you can do, and I know it's the toughest job in any elected office, being the mayor. There's a lot of differences between, you heard the president last night, so that's a pretty tough job too. But he's not walking around in the streets or going to the grocery store, to the Lowe's or the Home Depot, where people are literally saying, I need this. But the advantage to being mayor is that I can actually do something when somebody comes up to me to make a difference and to change it almost like that. Our city, county, state, Washington, D.C. is remarkable and unique in the political structure. And it has just been an honor to lead our city. You may have heard this story, but most of you probably haven't, so I'll tell you just the first few weeks of my tenure as mayor to give you a taste of what it's like. You know that I had the honor of representing Ward 4 in the Council of the District of Columbia for almost 8 years. So I was convinced that there was really nothing that was going to surprise me a lot about being mayor. I know the government, I know the people, I know a lot of the employees. And I was sworn in on a Friday. It was January the 2nd. And on Monday morning, guess what happened? It snowed. Wasn't that just what I needed? And so we cleaned up the snow, and then one thing you'll learn if you don't know about me is I don't like to close the government. Government is there, especially in tough times, and I didn't close the government. So I learned a lesson. I learned that I first had to get to know everybody. They had to get to know me and know what all of the assumptions were that went into those types of decisions. And probably if I had to do it again, I may have delayed opening a couple of hours, because by 11 o'clock there was no snow on the ground, and then people could go to work. But then for 9 straight weeks, guess what happened? it snowed every week for 9 weeks. And so we learned about managing salt and all of the things that go into that. And so certainly by the end of that 9 weeks, we had it down and we're already preparing for this coming season. About 9 days after I was sworn in, we had a pretty significant incident. There was a smoke incident on the Metro. Many people were hurt. A woman died, and the confidence and the safety of our economic engine of our city was literally shaken and has been in somewhat a tumult every day since. So we worked for the 10 months to get a good leader, good people on the board to really change the situation at Metro. But for that first week, literally nobody would talk to the news media except who? Bowser. So they followed me around for a straight week. So I learned in that situation how important it was to communicate to the people who are looking to you for leadership what you know and how you know things are going to change, and make sure that if something is wrong or not safe, that you're communicating that as well, because people are starved for information to make the type of decisions that they need to make their families work. And so that was a real lesson to us. We got out early and we were transparent in releasing more information about 911 calls and responses and working with our federal partners. And I think that certainly we are the better for it as an administration. And we think the whole public safety of the District of Columbia is better for it as well. And then a couple weeks after that, there was this congressman from Utah, and he didn't like the laws that the people of the District of Columbia voted for. And he threatened to throw me in jail for implementing the law. And so we know one of the real problems, the real injustices of the plight of the District of Columbia is that we taxpaying Americans can have a congressman challenge the law that the people made and even make threats to throw the mayor in jail. But we overcame that, and we've implemented our law without too much fuss, and we actually think that it's going to make our criminal justice system in the district that much better. So we've also, when we came into office, had a $190 million gap, and we also had a big commitment to a few major priorities, starting with investments in affordable housing, ending homelessness, continuing to invest in our schools and our public safety system. So we closed the gap. We didn't furlough our employees. They all got their COLAs, and they're working really hard. We also made the $100 million investment in affordable housing that we'll need to make each and every year. We made a commitment, a down payment, I call it, to ending homelessness for veterans and families as well, and we're going to keep pushing on that. We also inherited a pretty dysfunctional fire in the EMS. And I know many of you, your heads are going to spin because we've been having this conversation 8 years, 9 years. So we've made some changes, but we have a lot to go. One of the biggest issues that we encountered was simply, I would get emails, and I still do, saying that we had run out of ambulances, that there was a time during the day where we didn't have enough ambulances, and we reached that during critical points throughout. So there's a way, of course, that the fire department manages it, so there's always an ambulance available for critical cases. But we knew that we simply had not made the investments in ambulances that we needed to make to keep up with the number of people and businesses that have moved here. So we made an innovative proposal to the council. They've accepted it. And next year we'll be able to roll out more ambulances and make some decisions about the investments that we need to continue to make to keep pace with our growth. And like many big city mayors, we encountered a spike in violence that nobody saw coming or expected. And we've worked very hard to get ahead of it and address it. I certainly share the feelings of Washingtonians and not being happy and certainly not resting until we do get ahead of the curve on spikes in violence. The truth is that we are, on most categories except two, we have flat crime rates. And in most parts of the city, except like really 5 areas that we're intensely focused on, we have flat crime rates. Where we have seen, unfortunately, a spike, a desperate spike, is in the number of homicides. So we're really focused on 5 police service areas in our city for intense human services and police attention. I have put in front of the council a package of public safety things that we need. We gotta have them. So I hope that you'll work with us to make sure that the council moves on this legislation where they've already had a hearing, and we're looking for the Safer, Stronger package to be put in place. There's a couple of more controversial aspects of the bill where we said we need more ability to search for illegal guns. We've asked for for the criminal justice system to be able to pay closer attention to repeat violent offenders who use guns and make sure if they repeat that they're able to be held. We've asked for enhanced penalties on public transportation, and I did this as a council member to make sure that there were enhanced penalties against anybody who would harm a bus or train operator, but we need to expand that to bus or rail patrons as well, and so we're asking the council to do that. We're taking away some things that the police and the community have said have led to tougher police-community relations that were put in place in the 90s. We call them kind of the nuisance offenses that allow a police officer to pull somebody over. Get this, because I've been pulled over for this, for having something hang in the window. That was a law that was put in place many, many years ago. You like that, don't you? So motorists aren't getting harassed? I thought you would. Finally, I said something you like. Finally. That's just a joke. We agree on a lot with the AAA, and so we're gonna remove that. There was one other that accompanied that, but that's part of our Safer, Stronger initiative, and another that's one aspect of enhancing police and community relations. And the second, which I'm very happy that the council has finally moved the rules to put in place, and that's the police body-worn camera program. In my budget back in May, I budgeted $5 million so every beat officer would have a body-worn camera. And we went back and forth with the council a little bit on the funding, but it was fully funded in the supplemental budget that I just moved in September. And the council and I, and my staff, my public safety team, have worked out the details of the rules. And so that was approved. It will be finally approved by emergency on December 15th. Now, I've already ordered the cameras, and they're coming in between February and June of next year. This is a big deal because the police want it, the community wants it, elected officials want it, and we know that it will put, I think it'll be the most robust body-worn camera program anywhere in the country. We also came into office with a real focus on investing in all 8 wards of the District of Columbia, and we wanted that to be more than a slogan. And I'm really proud of the work that we've done to look at every aspect of our city. I created an office called the Deputy Mayor for Greater Economic Opportunity, and I appointed Courtney Snowden to be the Deputy Mayor for Greater Economic Opportunity. The function of that office is really to cut across the silos of the government and expand opportunity for people who need it the most, underserved communities in our city. We created a mayor's office in Anacostia, which has been up and running since about April, where we take the services of the government to the people. So we have been able to make some huge investments on the human services side, but we know that cities we can make these investments because the economic engine of Washington, D.C. is strong. People want to be in Washington, so people are moving here, businesses are moving here, and I have been able to deliver on something else that I promised to DC. And that was yes, let's focus on local Washington, but we also have to expand our footprint in this region, this nation, and the world. This region is also a growing region, and the center of that region has to be at the table table and speaking up and competing for everything that happens in that region. And we have made a concerted effort to do that. I created another section in the mayor's office called the Senior Advisor's Office, and an Office of Federal and Regional Affairs, which the mayor has never had. And that's important because the mayor's viewpoint and all of the things that you sent me down to the Wilson Building to work on has to be communicated directly to the Congress, to our regional partners and bodies as well. And before, we relied solely on the Congresswoman to do that. And she can do that fantastically, but we also need the viewpoint of the city government to be represented. I was convinced that we had to go that route when I learned that New York City has 17 people working here full-time on the interest of New York City in Washington, D.C. So they are on the Hill, they're at all the federal agencies, and here we are down the street. And we had none of that. So we don't have 17 people, but we have a robust group of people. And I just appointed Eugene Kinlow to run the Office of Federal and Regional Affairs with Beverly Perry. That's a good thing. We also will make sure that our interests are represented in the world. Washington, D.C. is a big, I don't have to tell any of you this. When you go to other cities and you tell other places in the world and you're telling you're from Washington, they're happy usually, right? And so when I go to other places in the world, they're thrilled to have a representative of Washington, D.C. there. So I recently took a big group to China, I'm sure you read about it, to talk about the interest of Washington. And the Chinese people are the number one nation that visits the United States. And we met with, just among the many hours of meetings that we had, one of the biggest travel agency. I'll tell you how big it is when you know how big China is. It has 33,000 employees. The travel agency alone is bigger than our government. And so we want to know what people are coming to DC for, how do we get more of them to come, stay longer, spend more money. Because as diverse as our economy is becoming, and it is, we're not just a federal government town, but let me be real clear about something. Tourism feeds our economy and lets us do the things that we need to do. So we're going to continue to focus on that. And so we're looking for more opportunities to expand our businesses and investors from around the world and what we need to move the city forward. Let me end by saying a couple of things about some other economic development engines that are important. So when you hear me talk about these, know that there are two sides to what we have to do. We have to make the investments in the human services that are going to make our city more inclusive. But in order to do that, that economic engine has to keep roaring. And a project that you're going to hear a lot about, we think is going to transform Upper Washington, D.C. at Walter Reed. And so I have moved to the council the package that will approve that deal. And then there's one final thing that the Army does, and we hope to see that going. We have 100 acres at Walter Reed. Half of it will come to the District of Columbia. We've come a long way in getting access to that land, and that's really, really important to the work that we have to do. We also moved to the council the transformation of the St. Elizabeth's campus in Walter Reed. I think it's also about 100 acres. And the Gray administration made an initial award last December, which we've refined some, but we have sent that package to the council also to be approved, and we hope that will happen in the early spring. Part of the St. Elizabeth's development will be a state-of-the-art sports and entertainment complex. I announced earlier in the fall a partnership between the DC government, Events DC, and the Washington Wizards, the construction of a state-of-the-art facility there where the Wizards will practice, and it will be the home court for the Washington Mystics. So it really became the anchor that we need to develop the rest of St. Elizabeth's, and we're really, really happy about that. So I said that was the last point, but the last point is this, because it's also part of our economic engine, and that is investing in highly educated, successful Washingtonians. And our commitment to the schools is unchanged, board member. And we have most recently embarked. We've been brave. We're in a brave new world, and it's called PARC. It's a new assessment for our students. Not every jurisdiction has accepted that challenge, but we thought it was important to raise the bar for evaluating DC students, so we know that they will be ready for college and work moving forward. So we've identified some changes that we need to make in investments, some different interventions, including making sure that children have access to more instruction, more time. And so we look forward to sharing those ideas with you, as well as progress on a population of kids in our schools that hasn't moved as fast, and that's boys of color. And so in the next year, we're moving towards planning for that. So I want to thank you for your activism, for your involvement, and please know that we take very seriously working with stakeholders around all of these issues. And I neglected to introduce the Ride-Along Mayor. So what is the Ride-Along Mayor? And today the Ride-Along Mayor is Laura Zeilinger, and she leads our Department of Human Services. You probably heard about Laura because she's spearheading our efforts to end homelessness, to help us close DC General and the District of Columbia. And probably in the fall, I realized that in all of the work that I'm doing, I'm out of the office a lot. When I'm in the office, I'm in back-to-back meetings. And I haven't had the time to spend with my directors. And we have really recruited a great team of people. And so now I get 10 hours to be with Laura. I get to pick her brain and figure out what's going on. And she gets to see a day in the life of the mayor. So this is the Ride-Along Mayor's Day. And if any tough questions you ask me, the Ride-Along Mayor is going to answer them. All right, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Have a night for questions?
You mentioned something about education for our children and being able that they would get a good education. I haven't heard anything about vocational schools and bringing them back, or what we were going to do with them.
Well, our focus is now on the 9 career academies that we have across the District of Columbia in our high schools and in our state schools. I'll give you a couple of examples of career academies that we have launched this year or in the coming school year. At Anacostia, for example, is going to be an academy focused on public safety. So the Chancellor and the Chief of Police and I introduced this program, and it's going to start in the upcoming school year. The Ballou Academy, for example, is focused on hospitality. And the academy, I hope I'm not going to get the schools mixed up, at CHEC, at the Columbia Heights Education Campus, will be focused on IT. So that the way that folks are doing vocational now in our system are at the high schools themselves, and are focused on the jobs where we know that there's job growth and unfilled jobs that could be filled by DC residents.
So many of us are just thrilled with your commitment to housing, affordable and supportive housing. But I'm wondering about, besides the $100 million and so forth, about specific programs as we see rapid gentrification in so many of our neighborhoods, which is pushing out people of modest means. Like to know, what your specific plans are in your administration to preserve and create more affordable housing.
Well, the $100 million I referenced is an investment in our Housing Production Trust Fund, and it is the chief tool that we use for both creation and preservation of housing. We think that in 4 years we'll be able to create or preserve 7,500 units. Now that's a set of properties. I also created a housing preservation strike force, because the truth is we have a lot lot of affordable housing in the district that is now vulnerable because tax credits may be expiring, or for some reason the bought down affordability of their units is at risk. And we don't have a solution right now, to be perfectly honest with you. And so every year, over the next 10 years, we're going to be faced with a building that has been affordable and significantly affordable in some cases, that we're going to have to figure out a solution. And these are not cheap problems. We have one building that, any one of these buildings, if the government was to get involved, could be 20, 30, 40, 50, 70 million dollars. And so that is a significant problem. So part of the group that I brought together, and I gave them a short timeline to work with, was trying to identify creative financing solutions to deal with what we know is coming. And that's an important piece. We're also looking at, too infrequently when we talk about affordable housing, we don't talk about keeping people in the housing that they have, which is affordable for them. And we have two sides of that. We have the home ownership side, and you don't want to get me started talking about how poorly we've used the money that's been there to help senior homeowners and people who are low income. But we're working on that, and I hope to have something to announce in the early part of the year. A more difficult issue is senior renters who see increases, how rents go up every year. So it's nominal. But when you have a fixed income, every increase is biting into a way that you can support yourself. So we're still working very hard on those solutions. We also have 8,000 units of public housing in Washington, D.C. that is in various states of repair and disrepair. So we have a new communities program with 4 communities there. The Housing Authority is responsible for all of the public housing units, but I don't think we have yet put in place the plan that we need for our local investment in public housing, because the federal government has basically washed its hands of public housing. And if we are to maintain those units, we have to figure out a way to make the physical investments that they need before they get into the shape that some of the units are in, where we're trying to decide whether we invest in them or whether we have to completely renovate them. And that hasn't been adequately addressed locally. So I gave you a lot of things that we're still chewing on, but we have a significant focus there. The last thing I'll say is this, and the Federation can be helpful here. We have a dedicated revenue stream for the Housing Production Trust Fund and deed of recordation taxes. So when you go to buy a property, you pay deed of recordation taxes. A portion goes to the Housing Production Trust Fund. Last year, that stream created about $50 million, $55 million. So in order to get to the $100 million that I promised, we had to find $45 million in everything else. We won't have as much everything else to pull from this year because of the tax changes that we made. So it's going to be very important that we all communicate to members of the council how important it is to maintain $100 million. Now, the council members were right to ask if we'd be able to spend it all. And I am proud to say that we are on track to be able to spend $100 million in a year and maintain that level of commitment.
Thank you for your vocational education initiatives. What are the immediate employment opportunities for post-secondary kind of 18 to 25-year-old undereducated and unskilled young people, including the returning citizens of all ages? We see so many idle people, in and around our Ward 7 neighborhood who would love to be at work.
Yes, and so I think you're right to say that most people rather be working. Unfortunately, they don't always know how to get there, right? And so that's why we're so heavily invested in our Department of Employment Services. So we've done a number of things around employment for people who need a second chance or need to get back in the workforce. And so frequently when I'm asked about affordability and gentrification, I talk about the things that the government can do, but the big part of that equation is helping people afford to live here. And you can't afford to live here if you don't have a good paying job. So we're really focused on that. So there's a few things that we've done and a few things that we can look forward to in employment services. First thing is that we expanded the summer youth program up to age 24. It used to end at age 21. And that was helpful for us this summer to get over 900 people some job experience, which was important. We expanded and we created a program for at-risk youth up to age 24 that is going to be year-round, and it was actually part of my Safer and Stronger supplemental budget. So 400 people are going to be able to be placed in a year-round program, and we're going to ask the council for it again this year, who are at risk for any number of reasons. So we're working with our summer youth employment partners to say, would you like to have a subsidized employee year-round, and we'll work 400 youth there. I also created a program called LEAP. In a 30,000 person government, there are vacancies every day. And why shouldn't DC residents fill those vacancies? So what the LEAP program says is that for existing vacancies, agency director, would you take a DC resident who's been part of this LEAP program who needs a second chance? So they could be returning citizens, they could be a young mother who's exiting TANF. We have a lot of people that are going to exit from our TANF program, and it could be any number of reasons why a person has been separated from work and is hard to employ. So they go into this program, agency director interviews them and hires them, and if they, after 6 months, if it worked out, they can put them in that job that exists. The next thing that we're doing, Laura, is we will be focused on using the procurement power of the government to get more hard to employ people hired. So what does that mean? We're going to spend $15 billion this year. $15 billion. Is a lot of money. And we contract with a lot of people to help us with that work. So we're going to say to those people, beyond First Source, which we tell them you have to hire DC residents, we're going to say you're also going to be a placement site for any of our hardest to employ folks who are already getting subsidized employment from us. So that'll give those folks another round of opportunity to get some experience. This is what I believe. We can help people who have challenged backgrounds get experience. And if they work hard, take it seriously, that job experience will help them go at it on their own.
Thank you.
I've told you in time for 2 more questions.
Okay.
Good afternoon, thank you for your service and your leadership. I just had a question related to the soccer stadium in Southwest. And my question is if the city is going to be able to provide some resources and assistance for the community, because particularly my concerns are for the health impact on the residents, because we know that our residents, primarily low-income residents, are going to be really close to the remediation of Buzzard Point. So we're going to be close to a lot of contamination, which we are now, and we will be the site of 2 major substations. One of the largest substations in the city will be constructed right next to us. And so a lot of our residents, my constituents, and my ENC commissioner are concerned for the overall impact that it's going to have on their health, especially their children, and they're scared. We're seeing a lot of rats, a lot of rodents, and we're seeing a lot of dust and contamination that we're breathing now. And now we're dealing with the fact that that's going to be dug up.
Okay, I think you asked me this question before in Southwest, and I didn't have a good answer for you then. So let's fix that. Why don't we schedule, if you can pull together a group of your neighbors, and we'll pull together a meeting where I'll have all the right people in the room so that we can answer those questions. Because I need to give you the accurate answers. So Kaylin will make sure that we get that set up. Okay.
Last question.
Yes.
You didn't mention this, but I'd like to know specifically if you could give us an idea as to how this is going to be addressed. And that is for the elderly and those who just simply want to remain, of course, in their homes, but don't have the means to pay the property taxes, for instance, and then they get ousted. We're seeing that still. And are you envisioning a committee to address this? Or what are you planning to do? Because it's something that pushes its great message.
Well, we have moved pretty aggressively around senior property taxes, and we probably have one of the most generous programs anywhere that I'm aware of. So I can talk a little bit about that and see how else we can refine it. I'm also really critically concerned because we don't have a good solution right now for senior citizen renters who just cannot accommodate increases every year. So we've looked at transportation costs and utility costs and all the other ways we can help, but that rent going up is pretty significant. So, okay, so let's talk about senior citizen property taxes in the district. So almost everybody is entitled to the homestead exemption. That already is a break on your taxes. And every senior citizen over the age of 65, I think there is an income cap. It's 100,000, I can't believe I can't remember that. 125, because I raised it. It used to be $100,000, and I changed the law to make it $125,000. It actually should probably be about $150,000. But if you make under $125,000 and you're over the age of 65, your property tax bill is cut in half. You do have to apply. All right. And every time I say this, there's somebody in the room who is not getting the benefit that they deserve. So if you're 65, you make under $125,000, you're entitled to pay half of your tax bill. That doesn't mean your assessment won't go up. That just means whatever the bill is, you pay half. The application from the Office of Tax and Revenue is simple. It's like 6 questions, and then you get that property tax break. Additionally, the council moved a couple years ago on a piece of legislation. It was originally proposed to eliminate property taxes for senior citizens, I believe 70 or older. It was revised to defer property taxes for seniors, I believe 75 or older, so that you wouldn't pay as long as you lived in the house, and the amount of accumulated taxes would be deferred upon the transfer of the property. So those are the 3 things that are in place for seniors, which is pretty significant. And people who have problems paying in that scenario, we want to make sure they're getting in touch with the tax ombudsman because there are probably other ways that we can help.
Yeah, and I think that therein lies perhaps the solution.
Yes, and we do have a tax ombudsman. There's another ombudsman who is to make sure that houses aren't sold from under people and a tax sale. So we have a number of different ways that people can ask for help, and you can always just call 311, say you're having a tax problem, and you should get one of those 2 offices.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.